Hello everyone! In today's video, we will learn how to make a shirt placket. And to show you what a shirt placket is, I'm wearing one myself. Let us go forward to see how to construct a shirt placket. A shirt placket is also called a tailored placket. In the Indian context, it's also called the Kurta Placket. The reason is that it's often seen in traditional kurtas, both in men and women. It's seen in the center front usually, but also sometimes is seen opening from the shoulder downwards on the left shoulder in some traditional kurtas for men. It is a placket which is rarely used at the back. Also, it is seen in men's shirts in the sleeve area. This placket adds value to the garment. It is the most attractive and most durable placket, but also the most difficult, most complex and most costly to sew. The tailored placket is a symbol of quality construction and the most costly to sew for several reasons. It requires two additional different garment components. One, the upper one, which is called the gauntlet. This is used as the overlap, and the one for underlap is the binding. It always increases the material cost, also increases the labor cost, and cutting and sewing becomes more complicated. Let us see how we can plan this placket first on paper. Here I have a diagrammatic representation of the sample that we are going to construct. First and foremost, what is the size of the sample? The sample size that we are working on is 25 centimeters by 25 centimeters. On this, in the lengthwise direction, right in the middle, we mark a center line. On this center line, we mark a depth of 12 centimeters for the placket depth. This is till where the slit of the placket will run. This was as far as the piece of the sample was concerned. Now, there are two additional pieces that require to be cut, and those are for the placket pieces. The left side piece will be called the binding and is 12 centimeters in length along the walkwise direction and 5 centimeters in width on cross grain. The reason why it is 5 centimeter is that we will see it in our diagrams here, but let us understand that the binding is 2 centimeters wide. It is double, so 2 plus 2, and it requires seam allowance on both the sides, so 0.5 and 0.5. This makes it 5 centimeters. The right side piece, the piece that is called gauntlet. The gauntlet is 15 centimeters in length and in width 7 centimeters. Why is it 7 centimeters? Because it's 3 centimeters wide and it requires an underpiece because it's double. So 3 plus 3 plus 0.5 plus 0.5. That makes it 7 centimeters. If you see here, the placket, this is the gauntlet. The underbinding is obviously not visible in this. This diagram represents the right side of the garment or right side of the sample at the moment. We have identified the right side in wearing and left side in wearing, and the grain line has been marked. The center line that was marked here has, you can see blue shaded area here, has a cutaway. If you see, there is a scissor drawn here, a symbol which signifies that you will cut along this line, the solid line, take it into this U and cut along the solid line again here. This removal of 1 centimeter helps us in the placement of the placket so that the gauntlet piece is absolutely centralized. So when we remove this 1 centimeter and take 0.5 centimeter as a seam allowance and we start stitching the gauntlet here, we get a distance of 1.5 centimeter. and that results exactly in the center. That makes the placket center exactly the center of the sample. And you can see that it takes it into a shape over here which is sharp and centralized. Now when 3 centimeters is attached from here, it will be 1.5 and an extension of 1.5. However, the left side piece, we have not reduced anything from the center. So we are going to stitch it from the seam line, which is 0.5 of a centimeter away from the center towards the left. And the piece requires to be 2 centimeter. And this is how we can see that it is 2 centimeter or why it is 2 centimeters. So when you stitch here, you have 0.5 of a width here and you have 1.5 extra to cover, because remember the placket pieces are double. The overlap must fall over the underlap. So now when it is stitched from here, the left side piece, which is the binding piece, it will reach the edge of the placket here, 0.5, 1 and 0.5, and that is what makes its requirement of 2 centimeters. So it will be 2 centimeters and 2 centimeters, 0.5 for stitching and 0.5 for folding when it reaches the inside. The left piece only ends here. Remember, we have taken it only 12 centimeters. So the first attachment is going to be of the left side, which will finish from top, that is top of the neck, in case of the sample just the upper edge, and will finish here at 12 centimeter slit. But the right side piece is going to get attached further on so that we can develop the wedge at the bottom. And that is why the upper piece or the gauntlet has been taken as 15 centimeters. Let us look at the placket pieces plan. While we have talked of it here in terms of its measurements, but the diagram here will make it more clear. So we have the binding side, which is the left side, ready size of 2 centimeters. Because it's a double piece, so 2 plus 2 and 0.5 of seam allowance here and 0.5 of seam allowance here. The length of this placket piece is the length of the slit that we create, which is 12 centimeters. The second placket piece, which is the right side, also called the gauntlet, is 3 centimeters ready. So it is 3 and it's double, so 3 plus 3 plus 0.5 plus 0.5, and this results in 7 centimeters. The length of this piece is more than 12 because it has to have the lower wedge portion where we secure the placket. So we've kept 3 centimeters over here. This 3 centimeter can be more than 3 centimeters because if we like this portion to be longer for a reason that we want to create a different look in it, we could keep it longer. This could also, as I said, could be squared as well. The placket pieces are planned at 3 centimeter width on the gauntlet at the moment, but the placket could be of a different size. It could be 2.5 centimeters wide also, and it could be 3.5 centimeters wide also. It depends in whose garment we are making. If we are making men's, then it's broad. If we are making women's, it's narrower. And if it is a child's garment, then it's going to be even narrower. The plan works according to the size that we are working on. So when we plan this 1 centimeter that we take out or remove from here is because the placket size is 3 centimeter. If the placket size is less than 3 centimeter, let's say it's 2.5 centimeter, then the middle of 2.5 is 1.25. And out of 1.25, if we remove 0.5 of a centimeter, which is the seam allowance, then you're left with 0.75. That means when the placket piece ready size requirement is 2.5 centimeters, then this removal of this rectangle here is not 1 centimeter, it is 0.75 of a centimeter. So these are calculations which you will have to base depending on what size of the placket you are planning on in the garment. Here is a diagrammatic representation, or we could call this the cross-sectional representation. It's not truly a cross-section, but sort of it will give you an idea how the placket is going to look. So from what we studied here, if you relate here, the center bracket is absolutely centralized, the gauntlet is absolutely centralized. However, the binding is not centralized from edge to edge. This makes, while the placket, under placket piece is reaching the edge of the placket on the underside, but on the upper side, its seam is not going to peep out of this edge. Its seam is deep inside. So when you button it up, it's not going to show you as if there is an additional piece inside, because that piece is away from here. And you can see the diagrammatic representation that this is the binding. It's a fold here, fold of 2 centimeter, fold back of 2 centimeter, and an inner fold for the seam. Similarly, for the gauntlet, there is a 0.5 centimeter fold here, a placket width of 3 centimeters, and placket second piece, under piece of 3 centimeters, and a fold of 0.5 centimeter. The placket will be stitched as a top stitching over here. Top stitching runs down till here, the gauntlet, and then into the wedge, the bottom, which could also be finished as a square line, but I have chosen to do a wedge over here. It will go up to where? Up to the level of the cut, the slit. So it moves a little bit above the slit. The seam line here covers the slit a little bit above so that it gets caught. The binding gets caught in this seam, and the 2 placket pieces stay together with this horizontal seam. While we are working on the wrong side, you can see we have marked our line on the wrong side. While we are working on the wrong side, we could actually plan our work with the right side. So if this is the right side in wearing, then this is the right and left. And remember the gauntlet, how it has to be placed in women's dresses. It will be right side, the gauntlet, and left side as the binding. So it's going to be right over left. And now we have to take care that the right remains the right on the wrong side as well. Now this is the right here, right in wearing, and this is the left in wearing. Our plan has to work accordingly with the, so I get half centimeter, and I'm going to remove this. So mark a straight line so that you get a clean edge here, and mark 7 centimeters for the first width. You can take a 90 degrees so that you don't lose, sometimes fabric edge is not very clean with us, so make sure you use a square to get a correct edge. From here this was 7 centimeters, the second piece was 5 centimeters. And remember, the length of the second piece was only 12 centimeters. This was 15 centimeters. Cut the 2 pieces cleanly. You can cut them together one by one. Easier to cut them, mark once and cut them together rather than do them separately, because it may not be a very good idea to do it separately. The 2 pieces are cut, and we will mark half centimeter allowance on both sides. I think I should use the other scale. It's not a good idea. You know the straight grain is already there. I don't need to mark. It was more important for cutting. Right now we've got the two pieces marked. We can iron and get their center. The two pieces have been cut, the two placket pieces, one at 12 centimeters, one at 15 centimeters. Both have been ironed to get their center fold, and they are folded with their wrong sides facing one another. Their seam allowances are inside, so we've got the right side outside. Now whenever a plain seam has to be done, or any component of a garment that has to be attached using a plain seam, remember that it has to have the right sides facing each other. So the wrong side has the seam, wrong side has the seam, and we have to face the right side. So it's going to be like this. We have got to stitch it on the right side. Maybe we can just turn it around so that it's easier for you to comprehend. So it's a good idea to pin baste so that your placket piece is in place before you start to machine stitch. Those of you who are absolutely novices at this, it may be a good idea to do a hand basting or use a needle and thread to baste it in place, but using the pin will give you a fair amount of hold on the fabric. I've just used 2 pins. You can use more if you like. This has held my fabric in place. Now we need to fold this area. You can fold it either with your hand or use the iron to create this neat fold. This is the fold which is going to go onto the wrong side like this, creating this binding extension, and will be folded over the original seam line, 1 millimeter extra overlap, so that you're able to make your seam just 1 millimeter away from the edge. I'm going to do this with pin basting to begin with and show it to you. You could do a top stitching from here in which both the pieces get caught like this. Or you could do groove machining. That means in the groove of this original seam, you should make another seam which sort of gets hidden in the groove and is not visible on the outside. However, it catches the underlay of the underlap of the binding area. You can see this is the cross section which we had drawn. It's the same, the main fabric and the 4 layers over here. This whole piece will get finished. We can do it with hand basting, which I will just now show to you. I can remove the pin and stitch right till the end. Bring this side, it's already been ironed, fold it in place. Now you have 2 choices as explained. You could either do a top machining and catch the 2 layers together. So you could do top machining like this. It's a good idea to keep it pin basted. You know, if you have it pin basted, then it's not going to move away anywhere. You'll make sure that the overlap is correct, and while you're seaming, the under portion is not going to slip out anywhere. It will remain as it is. So that's not a bad idea. I mean, not only as beginners, but even I would do it if I want a neat job to be done on the wrong side. Now I can just bring the machine stitch. I mean, when I work with the machine, I have 2 choices, that either I machine stitch here just 1 millimeter away and make sure both are caught. Okay, right now I'm doing it with hand. The placket will be shown to you after machining as well. This is one choice that I have, and the second choice I'm going to exert just after I've done half the work. And the second choice is that I make sure that this is enough of a overlap like this. It should be visible, you know, to you if you look through the light, that the lower portion is getting caught in it. Make sure you pin it up in the correct place, and now you can stitch in the groove of the machine. So that this is called groove machining. It's a very neat way of doing. It's a little bit more difficult than the top stitching, but it gives no seam impression on top, and yet the bottom piece gets caught. Now is the turn of the right side to be attached. Again we will follow the same principle with right sides facing each other. This is the right side, wrong side. With right sides facing each other, we will place the placket piece right from the edge, matching the edge on top, and we can pin baste it. I'm again pin basting it with along the seam line, and now you know it has to extend beyond this. So if you remember, on this side we had marked the line for 14 centimeters, not just 12 centimeters. It was marked till 14 centimeters because we need to actually stitch till there so that we can get the extended portion, you know, into the lower portion of the placket. So maybe I can use 3 pins would be a better idea instead of 2 pins. So here I am, and now after we have pin basted it, we can thread baste it so that we know we are exactly on line. You can see this is extended, and here it's going to come like this. So let me baste it and show you what it is going to look like after it has been basted. I'm going to start from this end like that. So stitch it down till about 13 centimeters, not till 14 really, though we had marked the line till 14, but we're stitching down till 13. Now right now it's hand stitched only, but remember we're going to machine stitch it, which I will also show, but I want to complete the placket like this only so that, you know, in a slower speed you're able to see and grasp everything. Now this fold was already made, and we need a 0.5 fold here again to go back and get stitched. This is going to go on the inside. Again, if you remember the cross section that we had seen, the main fabric and the 2 layers of the gauntlet and the 2 folds of the seam allowance are here. This is how. So on the wrong side you see the placket like this. The right side piece is here, which I haven't as yet folded, because if you look, the right side piece is longer and it just can't fold in here because there is all this excess material here which I need to do something about, else it won't fit. So I have just placed it like this right now, placed it flat like this, and I'm going to mark this 12 centimeter level here, which is now getting transferred onto this. This is the level that I need to mark, and now this needs to be cut away. If you see, if I have to fold back over here, what is happening? It's getting caught in this. So I have to cut it to a certain degree that this does not interfere with one another. So instead of making it difficult for me, I will just keep 0.5 centimeter from the fold so that it becomes easy for me, and this is going to be just cut away. So I'll have basically 1 layer to deal with, not the second layer. Though if you decide to cut lesser, even that would do if you cut lesser, but I like to have equal distribution so that the bulk distribution is kind of equal. So I'm going to remove this area. Can you see this? I'm going to remove 0.5 centimeter of allowance I'm keeping from the edge, which is the fold of the edge, fold of the placket, and the rest I'm going to remove. Now that this is removed, you will find that I'm able to easily go under this. See that? How I have gone under this? Otherwise it was bothering here. It was not allowing me to go in here. So now this has allowed me to go into. I can pin baste this again so that the seam line doesn't slip and the lower fabric gets caught in my top stitching, because this has to be finished with top stitching. So I'm going to pin baste it. Pin baste it right till the end. Make sure it's caught. That's very important. If it's any lesser, it will not get caught. and it's a good time now to iron your placket. It is at this point that we need to develop the angle for the wedge bottom. So now that you had stitched till 13 centimeters, you have about 2 centimeters of play here. I normally make this as a 90 degree like this and make sure it's extended beyond the center. We need to have a center in this, which is very important. So the center of the placket was at 1.5 centimeter, if you remember that. So this is 3 centimeters and I need the mid of it. So I should have the mid here as well. 1 and 1.5. Now this is very important for me because this is where I have to make the fold correctly. If I miss this center, then it's really going to make life difficult resettling it, because once you iron it hard, it sort of settles right there. And again I'm going to fold it and make sure that this level and this level is same, which you can see right now it isn't. So I'm just going to push it out to make sure that this level is equal, and the fold comes right here. Right on that dot is where I want my fold to be, and bring it out little so that the edge is the same. I mean the level of the wedge on both sides is the same. Make sure you press enough to keep it in place. So here we have a beautifully settled placket, which we can now baste and then pin and then machine stitch. So I've started pasting it, and at each step I'm going to check whether I'm well caught at the bottom or not. This is only pasting right now, but when we actually stitch it, we really have to be careful with this triangle that we are making, the wedge that we are making at the bottom, because it gets a lot of attention. It's right in the middle and it's going to get a lot of attention. We must make sure that we do a good job over this, maintaining its corners. I mean, right now, like, I can feel that it's slipping, so I can put a pin here so that it doesn't slip away. Make sure that the line is straight, absolutely. Lots of times what happens is that the line starts to curl from here. That's because if we have not stitched till the 13 centimeters, 13.5 also you can go, because you can decide. There's no hard and fast rule in this, how deep you want it. Some people may want this a very big wedge piece and a long wedge piece, and some may want just a short wedge piece. It's kind of, it's a trend that you would want to follow. And then of course I'm going to go back up a little, and remember when we had done the paper plan, we had said that we have to cover this area. We have to go way beyond this little bit so that the placket gets caught, and the two pieces are sort of not weak, it's strong enough. As we said, this is a strong placket, but it is strong only when this wedge is done well. Suppose you stitched under this line, suppose you stitched only till here, then this is kind of hanging free, and that's not what we want. So we want it well caught, and I have reached that level of having been well caught in this, and I'm going to do the horizontal seam. Make sure the horizontal is truly horizontal. You can mark it if you like, and because this gets a lot of emphasis, you have to do this top work really cleanly. Lots of times people do one running, one machine, double machine stitch here and goes down till here, which really catches the whole placket really well and gives it a lot of strength. You can choose to do it, or you can skip it. I mean, it's just up to you. So let's just finish this bit and see. The placket is ready. See how beautifully settled it is. See its center. If I was to mark its center, I would mark it and show it to you how we are placed from the original, and how the 2 centimeters is distributed here. See, this is 2 centimeters as we had taken, this is 3 centimeters as we had taken, at 1.5 is its middle, and so this middle will be like ½ centimeter from our original seam. It will be here. This is where the buttons are going to be fitted, and this is where the buttonhole will come. On the top side will be the buttonhole, and on the bottom side will be your button. and see how nicely it is covering. It could be a decorative, placket. You could do it in a different piece, in a bias, in striped material, in a different color material. So the placket is really nice and beautifully settled. Right now you can see the placket on the right side and see the placket on the wrong side. In the wrong side it's well caught. Yes, of course there is this little bit of a raw edge, but it's very well caught over here, and the placket opening, oops, is sharp and clear. So here stitching the first part, which is the binding. I'm just doing reverse machining here for 2-3 stitches to secure the seam. Somehow the reverse machining of my machine is not working too well right now. Since this was basted, it's fairly easy. And finally we are doing the top machining on the gauntlet piece. We have to be very careful at the corner. Don't let the machine slip. Sometimes the last stitch needs to be adjusted so that it would catch the layer. We go back up. We can decide how far we want, because we want to cover the slit up end, so it should at least end a centimeter above that. You could mark it so that you don't miss that point, or check once again if you have covered it well enough. There you are. And now we need to just do a cross seam, and many a times we would leave it right here, but we could also do a second row of machining here, just 3 to 4 stitches down, and you could do a second row here, which will sort of reinforce this end. The placket is ready. I have still not removed the basting stitch. You can see the placket is ready. It's done. It's overlapping well. If you enjoyed today's video and learned something from it, then do like, share and subscribe. And if you wish to get notifications every time I upload a new video, then do press the bell icon as well. Thank you. See you soon.